Welcome back to Building Belmont. My name's Keanu Trujillo, and today we're going to talk about the skate park, get to learn the history and why this has been a project 14 years in the making.
16 years,
16
actually.
years in the making, and to do that we want to make sure that we have all 16 of those years covered. So we pretty well have the spearhead, the leader, the catalyst in helping to ensure that this project is coming to fruition now. We have Martha Stowe, who is a 14-year councilwoman, a teacher for 30 plus years here in Belmont. Belmont native?
No,
local to Belmont?
I grew up in Lexington.
Okay. What brought you to Belmont?
My husband, he grew up here. We moved to Winston-Salem and Charleston, South Carolina, and then came back to Belmont.
And the Stowe, I've heard that name around a little bit. You married a Stowe?
I married a Stowe, and I would have run for city council many years ago, except there was a stereotype that went with being a Stowe. So it took a number of years for people to realize that I was independent and a school teacher, so I had my own voice.
Yes. Wow, well, we're jumping right into it. I love that because I did want to capture that side of your story. You know, being able to get into city council, obviously being very involved, having a name that's been very involved, but being able to blaze your own trail. Tell me more about that, being independent, having your own voice.
What happened was that Clyde Dietz, who was a longtime city council member and did a lot for the city, and Kevin Lofton, who was our mayor, who made sure we had the infrastructure on Main Street to support what we have now. Both of those were my mentors. We sat and talked probably once a year or more and talked about, okay, when was it going to be reasonable for me to think about running? Because as Ron Folk says, you're either part of the problem or you're helping solve the problem. So I wanted to help with solving problems. Not that we had a huge amount, but I wanted to help. So it took a long time before that time arrived because Stowe's had a stereotype that they only took care of themselves because they were the managers of the mills. And by the time I moved here, that was really not the case, but it still stuck. That part did. So I've been doing a lot of different things in the community over the years, but the council was one thing that I thought would be worthwhile to do. So I've been, as you said, a member 14 years. What happened with the skateboard park was that 16 years ago, we had a 13-year-old student from Belmont Middle School named Trevor Gray, and he was skateboarding in East Belmont. We didn't have safe places for people to skate, and he was hit by a vehicle and killed. That same day, we had a policeman who was on the way to that scene, and he had a heart attack and died, so we lost 2 people in Belmont. This, I think, is one of the stories that you hear people typically say, we don't want it to happen to anybody else, so that's what happened, and that's what started this.
Well, being a part of the solution and running for that, you've been a city council member for 14 years,
Right.
And the incident, Trevor Gray, happened 16 years ago. So 2 years had passed since the incident. You're stepping into city council. Has it been a mission from the beginning to make this happen?
It definitely has. My students at South Point High School, a number of them were skateboarders, so they all took note of this tragedy and that they skateboarded on the streets here and of course messed up the planters downtown and all that kind of thing. So we didn't have a safe place to skate. So when this happened, they were all excited, and I had kids who stored skateboards in my room, so I knew who they were. So I was still at South Point, and those students were still there, most of them 2 years later when I became a part of the council. So they were excited because they knew I would help get a skateboard park. So I still have adults I see on the street here whom I taught that many years ago, and they said, are we ever going to have a skateboard park? I said, I'm still working on it. So it's been quite a process. We had a site picked out. We had a sign up just like you do when you have a zoning sign by the new police department.
Okay.
At that time it was the new police department. Now it's not. It's not the new police department. It stayed for 7 or 8 years. And I was told by the powers that be that that was too valuable a piece of land for the skateboard park, so we're not going to do it there. So we had to look at different sites, but I had to request that they take the sign down. I said, if you're not going to build the park, you need to take the sign down. So at this point, we looked at a site near Davis Park, and several other sites to see what would be the best option. So eventually the choice was to put it over here beside City Works, and so it'll be really close to the recreation center and then across from the Riverfront Park. So we'll have quite a destination for people to bring their kids of all ages. But the other thing that's caused a bigger problem has been the demographic of the people who are skateboarders. The skateboarders that people think about from the 60s and 70s were a different type of person than you tend to see now. We had skateboarders actually in Belmont who built their own park, so to speak, behind Sammy's, and you'd see them out there, and they were not causing trouble. The only thing that the skateboarders ever did was tear up the planters, as I said, on the main street, because they would use those to jump up off of or up onto. So that doesn't go too well. So people were really irritated, but not irritated enough to think about the skateboard park being the best spot.
Well, speaking to the demographic, what has been the demographic that you've experienced now that are skateboarders? Because you think of someone, again, that maybe would be more in line with vandalism or, these things, or somebody that is, a little bit more of a, what would you call them? I'm looking for a rebel or what have you. But, truthfully, can you speak to what the actual demographic is around here? We're going to see, with it being launched, we're going to get to experience it. But what have you experienced?
I think people will be very surprised, because one of the things that's the most interesting to me over the past 2 years or so, when we've had the pandemic, people bought their kids skateboards because they wanted them to have any kind of activity they could to get them outside. So after the past 2 Christmases, we saw even in my neighborhood that there were a lot of kids out skateboarding, of course, on the street. So you have that particular group, and they're not going to be the rough kids. That's not the way that's set up. Then you also have adults. One person who is probably in his 50s who told me he had a skateboard from the 80s and he still uses it on occasion. We have a doctor who's an OBGYN in Belmont who is a skateboarder, and he runs the comic store in East Belmont. Wow. And I had taken him with me to one of the Parks and Rec Board meetings, thinking that would help the Parks and Rec Board see that the demographic was not maybe what some of the people there thought. And instead of it helping, they had so many other projects that were of value, the skateboard park got bumped farther down. So at this point, several of the people, including the mayor, thinks it should be my skateboard park. I think Adrian Miller probably does too, but that's not the case. If the city had not taken the $50,000 in lieu of green space after this tragedy happened and said they were going to build a skateboard park, I would never have been involved in it, because it's not something I'm familiar with. But at the same time, if you tell teenagers, kids of any age, that you're going to do something, then you're obligated to do it, unless there's some specific reason that you cannot. And that was not the case. We had the money, and $50,000 in 2005-06 long, there would have made a nice skateboard park. You also had donations from people and churches, because they were concerned about a safe place for kids to skateboard, and nothing happened. At this point, though, the price tag is much higher. What we were looking at was $250,000 to $300,000. We were very fortunate. Mark Seelinger, who's a councilman, and I both talked to Dana Bumgarner, who was our state representative, and asked if we could have some more funding. When I talked to Mr. Bumgarner, he said, "How much money do you need?" I said, $150,000. He was quite taken aback. I think he thought my ask would be about $50,000. And I explained to him, Waynesville has a really nice skateboard park. I've visited a lot of them here and in other countries, actually.
Martha, do you skate?
No, I skate, okay, like old-fashioned skating. Okay. And I've had several foot surgeries, so I won't be doing that. But I do have a skateboard that I have that's been donated, and that's an interesting story. We have a friend, and he's 75. I said something to him about the skateboard park. He grew up in Belmont. He does not live here anymore, and we met him for dinner. And I said, this is really neat. I think we're finally going to get a skateboard park. He said, "I have a skateboard in the trunk of my car." And I'm going, yeah, right. 75-year-old man, he just happens to have a skateboard in the trunk of his car. And so I think I'm really not believing this. We walked out from the restaurant, and he really did have the skateboard. The story with that is he was part of a junior achievement group here in Belmont in the 60s. So in 1964, that group had built 600 to 700 skateboards to sell. And they're the old-fashioned kind with the board, and they had a name on them, and they have the old metal skates. Of course, they're not going to turn. So I have borrowed that for show and tell for the park opening. but I will not be skateboarding on it.
Okay.
So, no, I'm not a skateboarder.
Well, I apologize then to interrupt. I just had to know. It seems like you have taken a keen interest over 16 years. I'm the kind of person that can be a little bit more obsessive when I like bite into something. So if I was doing anything involved with anything for 16 years, I probably would have. But you mentioned then, okay, you were asking for the funding and you asked for 150.
Right.
We finished that story?
Yes, he gave us $150,000. But what happened was that he passed away by the time the budget was passed and the $150,000 came to us. So yeah, I think this is great. Instead of $250,000 or so, we have an extra $150,000. Caramont had also donated $10,000 to us for a canopy over a place for people to sit for the safety and health part of it, because they certainly would not donate to a skateboard park because there's some inherent danger there. But they said that we're going to use that, which will be great for the parents to sit and watch the kids and that kind of thing, and have a shade situation. So we got the $150,000, and that was really exciting because that meant we had to renegotiate the contract with the builders, which is great. That delayed us a little bit, but the problem there was that 3 of the 5 city council people voted to use the $150,000 to defray the city's expenses. So you have the representative who got the money for us who's passed away, so I don't have anybody to corroborate what I'm saying except Mark Seelinger. And so he voted with me to spend the money to add to what the city had said they would spend. And so I explained to the other councilman, I said, this is an ethics issue for me because I asked for this for a specific reason, and if we're not going to use the funding in the way it was, then it is a real ethics issue for me. So they listened and revoted the motion and agreed to add the $150,000. So we'll actually have a really nice skateboard park. It won't be the best in the whole region, but it's going to be one of the nicer ones because of the features that are involved. I learned a lot of terminology too. I did not know what a hubba was, and I'm not going to try to explain it to you, but if anybody wants to look up what a hubba is, it's just a whole dynamic as far as skateboarding and the parks involved, and I've read and looked at a lot of them. It's amazing to see what they have out there.
So a hubba is a crucial part?
Yeah, so that's a really important part.
I'll do my research. I will find out what that is.
Hubba, yes.
So then you received $150,000 in funding.
Yes.
Did that cover the park?
No, that adds to our $200 to $250,000. So we'll have a park that's in the $450,000 range. The other piece of it too that I didn't think to mention, this year was the first year that skateboarding was a part of the Olympics. Okay. So that's really exciting because that means they've recognized it as a valid sport to be considered.
But being able to, again, follow the history and get to a point of understanding where it came from, how it was funded. You are a city council member, so you can speak to the tensions better than anyone in this room, probably better than anyone in the community, as to where dollars are spent and how you steward that. And so tell me more about the importance, or people that are listening in and hearing, $400,000 to $450,000 dedicated towards this. I really want to give you the opportunity to back that, to support that, to share that, and I don't think you're in any way shy to do that. So
no, I'm not. I think it sounds like a huge amount of money, and it is. But if you look, we're looking at building a splash pad, so that where it looks like a big sprinkler system, that kind of thing. That's going to cost $350,000 there. So the cost of what you're thinking about with regard to parks and greenways, all that kind of thing, they're exorbitant. So as I said, I think earlier, if we had built this years ago, you'd have spent $50,000, maybe $100,000, just because of the escalation of cost and that kind of thing. It's ended up being this amount of money to get something that you and I would be pleased to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also the other thing that makes a difference, this is made of concrete. You have some parks that were made of modular units. You do a concrete pad and just drop things in, but they're not going to last as long, and they're not going to be as interesting or fun for the kids, and not going to be as challenging.
So it's an investment that's built to last, instead of something that, you get what you pay for. So
you do, and I've been really surprised. I've watched the building of it. I thought that they would do everything with a continuous pour and it'd be done. They don't. They did each vertical, let it cure, and all the different pieces of it, let those cure, and they're now finally ready to do the horizontals, because I actually stopped on the way here. I said, are we going to be ready for Tuesday? And they said, yes, we'll be ready for Tuesday. I said, okay.
Yes, yes. And so this episode releases on the day before the ribbon cutting. So this is Monday. Tomorrow,
Yes.
if you're listening right now in real time, is the actual ribbon cutting.
Yes.
Martha, are we going to see you at the ribbon
Well,
cutting?
you'll definitely see me at the ribbon cutting with my skateboard that I will have for show and tell. It's going to be at 9 o'clock that Tuesday morning, and there's a reason that that date was chosen. Our city staff, and I think Jamie Campbell, one of the people involved in that, determined that that is National Skate Park Day. So we're doing the opening on that Tuesday for that specific reason. But we're also going to have a bigger event that she's publicizing and will be out on Facebook, I think, too, as well, on Saturday, that will have demonstrations and all kinds of different things for people to come and see.
What a treat. So in 16 years, how often did you bring up the skate park? I'm trying to get into the resilience there.
Anytime we talked about capital improvement projects, funding for the next year, and that was in the budget. So at least once a year, actually more often, but I would try to target, okay, we need to think about going ahead to do this because the price is going up. And every time, though, I still think one of the biggest issues was not necessarily the money as much as it was they're not going to use this. So what I did at least 2 times during that 14-year period while I was teaching at South Point, I had the middle school and the high school both do a survey to see how many people would use it, and at each time we got at least 100 signatures from people who said, we're skateboarders, we would use the park. So the people are out there, they're just not visible, they don't have a voice, they're not going to come to city council and ask the question. So I ended up being their spokesperson.
And that is Belmont alone, Belmont Middle or South Point alone, not considering the rest of the county or the rest of the Charlotte metro area. You mentioned that you would visit other skate parks.
Yes.
Tell me about the location. I mean, it's not like there's one of these on every corner.
No.
So what can you share about the
You
location?
have one at Renaissance Park over in Charlotte, and it's a very small one, but they built it in the area where you had the methane gas issue because of landfills and that kind of thing. So there's one there, there's one in Mount Holly, there's a wonderful one in Waynesville that in 2013-14 was built. It cost $500,000 to build that one. And ours will not be as nice as that, but it's similar in nature. I did a lot of research about the different companies, and the company we picked was one of the best in the country for this size park. There's some out in the western part of the country in California that build huge ones, but we're not in that part. We're not building huge ones. We actually went to Europe and went to Estonia one time and looked at one of the skateboard parks there. So they're everywhere, but people, it's just not, since not everybody's going there with their entire family, they're just not as visible and well known.
Yeah. Well, I had heard something, maybe you can shed a little bit more light on the statistic, but a skate park of this type, there's not one within an hour and a half or something of
Right.
that?
Yeah, well, I say that except in Charlotte. In Charlotte, there will be because of the one that was done at Eastland that people spent their own money to build, and now that they're going to repurpose Eastland, the people in Charlotte who are in the political situation are actually trying to figure out a place to build a park. So they'll have one probably bigger and better than ours, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's hard for me to admit that anyone has anything better than us, but I'm obviously biased. But I do like I love the experience that's coming to this area. So Kevin Lofton Park just got redone and rebuilt and reestablished there. The rec center, City Rec, is coming very soon. We're looking out the window, watching it being built right now. The skate park is almost done. And so there's a great experience that's coming to this area that really can help to serve a whole family, regardless of what you do or what you're interested in. We looked at some renderings of the skate park, and we'll get to talk with Matt Morgan next about that. But even the greenery around it looks like it lends itself well to families going and hanging out there, and not just children that are skating. So
yeah, it'll be a family experience because you'll have little kids and the parents watching the middle school age students skateboard, and then you'll have the high school students who'll be there more on their own. And I like it that we have it here near the rec center because that way there's some situation where you'll have somebody monitoring it. That was my biggest concern about moving it away from the police station, because you had the concern about, okay, what kind of kids are going to be there? If that concern was valid, the police department was the best place, because nobody's going to come hang out beside the police department. But once again, as we talked about, I don't think you have the same kind of people who are skateboarders that you and I, well, you're younger than me, but who would have been skateboarding. In my era, probably there were more of the type that you would have to have somebody watch out. Yeah. And I don't think that's the case now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, being able to, again, speak to the vision and the why and the how and the heart behind it, I want to close with this. What else do you want to share about the vision that you have for the skate park moving forward? How satisfying is that going to be on Tuesday evening that this 16-year mission, 14-year personal mission of yours has been satisfied? But what else can you share about that vision?
I think if you talk to anyone who knows me, they will say, we are so glad this is happening. We're tired of listening to her because she keeps beating us. And I said, so I don't leave things alone. So that I'm very excited. I'm as excited as any skateboarder, even though I won't be skateboarding, because it's going to be, I think, so fun to watch, as well as it is to be on a skateboard. I don't know, since I've not had that personal experience, but I'm really excited. I don't know where I'd put it on the list of things as what's been most exciting in my life. I think probably as a city council person, this is the most exciting to me, because I think it's such a worthwhile project.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for your service to Belmont and your continued service as a council member. I think I speak for anyone listening that I want to draw on so much more of your story. I want to hear so much more specifically about what made it the right time when you became a city council member, but I'm going to leave that as a tease for another episode for us to get on and talk, because I really do want to be able to capture your story, and a big part of this platform is about creating connections and sharing stories and information, and stories that will live forever. This episode, this platform, as long as there's internet, which internet's only getting better, it's going to be out there, and so people can go back and listen. And someone someday 10, 15, 20 years from now experiencing that skate park that never got a chance to know you can go back and get to know you and your heart for that student. So legacy is really the heart behind it. But I really can't wait to have more conversations with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to, one, invest in the community every day as a teacher, and then, as if that was not enough, to be a city council member, and again, taking some time today. So Martha, anything else that you want to share before we let you go?
Thank you, though. This has been fun for me, because since you're talking about your platform, this has been one of my platforms that I've been standing on for 14 years. So I will be so excited to say, yay, it's finally happening.
Well, I can't wait to see you tomorrow walking around with that skateboard. I can't wait to see it, experience it. If you see Martha at the grand opening, be sure to stop in and say thank you. Maybe give some insight on what the name's going to be.
We have no idea.
Okay.
I hope that we will at least put a plaque in honor of Trevor Gray. I don't know that we'll name the park any specific name, but I think that we at least should do that, because that was the impetus of getting it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I keep hearing Martha Stowe Skate Park surfacing, but
no,
I don't.
No.
Well, thank you again so much, Martha. Now we're here with Matt Morgan, a Belmont local native skate enthusiast. I wanted to call him a skate pro, but he said we wouldn't go that far.
Far from pro.
But Matt has been involved from the beginning in helping the process in getting the skate park going, the design, the structure, the intentionality behind it, and also the importance. But Matt, I wanted to get to know a little bit more about your story. You're about as local as it gets when it comes to Belmont, as we talked about, born in Charlotte, living here in Belmont also, which is rare, as you know. Most people around here are not from here, including the other three of us in the room right now. But Matt, tell me about your story and your just experience in skating. Have you been skating all your life?
I've been skating now for about 19 years. Getting older now, I don't skate as much, but still enjoy watching it. Still have a lot of friends that do it on a daily basis. Met a lot of people through skateboarding, which is a really cool thing. But yeah, back last April, whenever we first had the first meeting for the actual design of the park, me and a few other friends were here. Kind of went over the actual design that was already pre-made, changed a few things. Then after the meeting, one of the designers from Spawn, the company building the park, actually came over and skated the ramp I have in my backyard. I have a 40-foot wide mini ramp in my backyard that I like to share with a bunch of people, because there's nowhere currently in the area really to skate and enjoy doing it with people. So he came over, we talked a little bit, went over a few different designs for the next couple days after he left. Me and a bunch of guys drew up some plans on top of the original blueprint and just kind of got it to where we thought it needed to be. And City of Belmont really was amazing. They let us design it, didn't really kick back anything, and we're like, if this is what y'all want, then this is what we're going to do, because we want people to enjoy it and people to actually come and use it. So yeah, I mean, the park's being built now, and it's exactly the way we wanted it. So we're looking forward to it.
Over a year later, and you're still involved in the process. Is anyone else, any of your buddies from the beginning, still involved, or are you the only one that's really latched on to the support of it?
Oh yeah, so I've posted updates weekly. I live 5 minutes up the street, so I come and check on them every single day to see what's going on and see what kind of progress they've made. And I posted every day on Instagrams and send text messages out to people, and they're like, man, we can't wait till this place is done. When is it going to be done? So yeah, I mean, everybody's excited.
Well, skateboarding or growing up skateboarding for 19 years, and I would have to guess your age to know if you grew up skateboarding.
Yeah.
But being involved for that long, what's the importance of having a skate park this close? What was it like for you growing up? Where would you go? Did you have many options? What did that look like for you?
So there were parks growing up, but there was no concrete park to this extent. Skate parks years ago normally were indoor parks that you had to pay to skate, be a member of. Born outside, you were stuck in a building, or we would get dropped off uptown Charlotte or go and skate downtown Gastonia, and at 15, 16, 17 years old, you'd pretty much get ran off everywhere you went, and you would get banned from places and get in trouble. But it was really the only place we had to skate, unless you had somebody that had a ramp in their backyard or had room in a cul-de-sac somewhere to build ramps to skate. So having a place like this, I mean, right beside the City Works building, where there's going to be people in and out all day, being able to watch over the younger crowd or anything of that nature, it's just a place where you'd be able to come and skate. And it's not, people think skate park, people do think backyard ramp. We have a park right up the road in Mount Holly that's a prefab skate park that really was a waste of money, that nobody, I mean, it's just not really a fun place to go. Prefab is just like a metal ramp that could be picked up and moved and put somewhere else. Really the cheapest way to go about building a park. The park being built here in Belmont it's actually like a piece of artwork, really. I mean, the process has taken over a year, and the guys building it, I mean, they're on their hands and knees, full blown, like smoothing concrete for 12 hours a day trying to get everything perfect. So yeah, it's going to be really, really good.
Well, when you talk about a skate park that's fun versus not, obviously, maybe if we get enough shares, I'll put out some kind of call to action. If we get enough shares or downloads on this episode, maybe then we'll do a recording where you try to teach me how to skate.
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
And so we'll do that. I'll be sure to add some kind of call to action so we can get some shares on this, because I think people would love nothing more than to watch me fall down a couple times. But when you say fun versus not fun, I don't really know what would qualify. So what about this park is going to set it apart that's going to be a more enjoyable time or an experience?
So this park has a bowl, which a bowl looks like a bowl of cereal pretty much, but it has a bowl which is transition. A lot of guys like to skate transition. Your older crowd, as myself, I'm not jumping downstairs or grinding rails anymore or trying to jump on ledges, because my knees wouldn't work the next morning very well. So this park has transition, which is fun for the older crowd. And it also has a very, very good street section, which is going to be your handrails, your stairs. Is going to look like something that you would see uptown Charlotte, kind of like a plaza outside of a bank or something. So transition has a street course, and just the ground being as smooth as it is. Most times you get it concrete. Concrete isn't always the smoothest. This place is going to be like skating on a garage carport, nice smooth floor. Which a lot of people, you wouldn't imagine just that being part of it it's fun to skate because it's just so smooth.
So safety was a big part of the driver or the catalyst for bringing the skate park here. Talk a little bit about that. Martha shared with us the story of the catalyst and why it began to be an issue. Hey, we need a place where our kids or older kids can come and skate instead of being out on the road. Do you know, one, much about that story, and then two, can you just speak to the safety aspect in general?
I was a little bit younger, of course, whenever that happened, and I remember hearing about it, but I don't know the story to a T. But riding your bike in the road, skateboarding in the road, rollerblading in the road, it's scary to see. I try to, even if I'm riding my road bike, I try to stay on the sidewalk because people don't pay a lot of attention most of the time. And I have seen kids on their skateboards in the street downtown Belmont, and I'm like, hey guys, maybe you need to skate on the sidewalk. I know it's cool to skate in the street, you think it is, but you get hit by a car, you're not going to feel good. So this place here, you'll be able to come and drop your kid off. It's going to be right beside the city building, so it's not going to be just a free-for-all. There will be rules and regulations put in place. But then the older crowd, like myself, the older guys that have been skating for a long time, they'll actually look over the kids and try to keep the park in good shape and make sure nobody's doing anything they shouldn't be doing. Kind of take people under your wing. I had guys that did it to me when I was growing up. Still friends with those guys, and I've kind of done that myself. Just having the ramp in my backyard, it's a safe place to come. I do invite people to come over and skate if they'd like. I try to get waivers signed and that sort of thing. Tell them, hey, if you need to wear a helmet, you need to bring a helmet. But the park is going to be, an extremely safe place for people to come. And then I think later on down the road, if it turns out that everything works out well, it'll be a place to even skate a little bit later on into the afternoon with some lights or something. But it's going to keep you out of the street. It's going to keep people in cars safe. It's going to keep people walking on the sidewalk safe.
Well, I wanted to emphasize the safety element, obviously, with it being a big catalyst and a big part of it, but also, again, understanding that that's the importance of having this investment and this asset to the community here for people to go. And again, we are right now in the City Works building. We got the rec center, City Rec, coming up across the street, and then we have the skate park coming up right next door. So having those opportunities, and then obviously there's Kevin Lofton Park that just got finished. So there's a lot to do here, for your kids of all ages, and obviously get to engage and safety continuing to be a central element to that. But you mentioned with the things that we'll have, we actually have a rendering here that we can walk through. Walk me through some of these things that you were saying. So you were talking about some of the elements here that people can experience and that people can enjoy. So I'll kind of I'll drive, or as a matter of fact, I'll let you drive if you want to use the cursor there and kind of show us what we have and the intentionality behind what we're seeing here.
So dead center of the park here, I was talking about the transition for the older guys. There's not another bowl this size really in at least an hour and a half drive. There's a Lexington park in Lexington that is very similar to this, but their bowl ours is 4 foot in this shallow part over here, and it is 6 foot down here in what we call the deep end, just like you would in a regular swimming pool. And that is a very easy, fun bowl to skate, because most bowls at parks are like 10 foot in the deep end. And I don't know if you've ever fallen from 10 foot, but falling from 10 foot to a flat bottom is no good. Does not feel good. 6 foot still doesn't feel good, but it's a little bit more mellow and a little bit more fun for the average person to skate. This little section over here as well, there's a little 3 foot tall, we call it a little mini ramp. You can't really see it, but right there where the cursor's moving is the other side. So that's actually a half pipe there, which is really mellow fun. Somebody that is just learning to skateboard could learn to skate on this very, very easy. It's actually where I first learned to skate, was on a 3 foot mini ramp. Then this section here is actually a little roller that rolls down into this section here. This is what they call a Slappy Curb. So that's only about 6 inches off the ground. Actually looks like an actual curb on the sidewalk that is painted and is made to be able to hop up on and grind. Comes over the A-frame here, up this vert wall. This vert wall is about 9-10 foot tall. So you really can't hang out on the top of it up here, but it's just to get speed to be able to come back across the park. And then you have another bank here that comes down into the street section. The shade structure here is actually overlooking what's called a manual pad. So you actually can grind the sides of this manual pad here, but then you can also hop on the manual pad, and it has what are called like out ledges. So you can hop onto this manual pad, and then it has an actual ledge on top so that you can jump onto it and then grind off as well. And then across from there, you have your transition to come back across the other way. This here was what we call a flat bar. It's actually a square rail that's just about a foot off the ground. Then the other transition here, 3-foot quarters on the other side. This comes across a little A-frame rail up and down both sides into these 2 hips you'll see here. These hips are meant to be able to pop from one side over into the other side of the park. And then Martha actually, at the first meeting we ever had, it was actually pretty funny. Martha said, whatever we do, whatever we change in design, we have to make sure that we have a hubba at this skate park. I was told we needed a hubba, and a hubba is actually just like a concrete ledge that you would see coming down some stairs at a basketball arena or a baseball stadium. So there's the hubba there with some stairs, and then another handrail coming down there. And then some little cool artsy pieces here, the little ball things to sit on and keep boards from shooting over into the pool if anybody's skating the bowl there.
If I'm starting to skate and for some reason I want to pick it up because, whatever reason, where do I begin here? Where should I spend my time?
You would want to spend your time over here in the little 3-foot mini ramp section over here at the half pipe to get used to pumping back and forth. But really, this park is perfect for anybody to skate. There's nothing here that's too gnarly. There's nothing here. Everything here is mellow. The rails are very perfect height. The quarter pipes they're not too big. Everything here it's for beginners all the way up to advanced skateboarders. So it's definitely hit the nail on the head for every type of skateboarder.
How many people can enjoy this park at a time, roughly, would you say?
So this section here, you would have one person probably skating this section. You could have one person skating this section, a person skating the bowl, somebody skating the mini. So at one time you have 4 or 5 people skating the park comfortably without worrying about colliding into anybody or that sort of thing. Because most of the time what you would do is you would drop in on this side of the park, go down, hit the rail or hit the hubba, then come up the quarter and then come back. And then that would pretty much be your run. And then the next person standing there waiting to drop in would follow right behind you. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I like this. I also like the layout around it with the greenery to be able to go out and spend some time with the family, picnic or whatever while the kids skateboard or what have you. So it looks like it is built for some good events to happen there. So let's talk about some events coming up. This episode will release today, obviously Monday, and tomorrow will be Tuesday, which is, well, obviously that's how Monday and Tuesday work. Let me skip ahead of that. So this episode is releasing today, Monday, June 20th, and the ribbon cutting is tomorrow, June 21st. And then we have a grand opening Expo Saturday, June 25th. Sure. So tell me about the ribbon cutting, the Expo. I want this to be a big, call to action for people to get to experience it, to go out and actually enjoy it and see it. So what can you tell me about the ribbon cutting and then the Expo? So
June 21st is the first day of summer every year, and it has also been considered Go Skateboarding Day for as long as I can remember. So that is when the ribbon cutting will be held. It is a Tuesday, so it should be a little bit more laid back. There will be a lot of the city folks here to get everything squared away, do the ribbon cutting, but there are also a lot of kids I already know that are coming out to the event to skate and to see it because the park will be open all day. And then Saturday, the 25th, the following Saturday, will be the actual grand opening. I've actually reached out to Red Bull. Red Bull has donated their time and donated a DJ booth. Hopefully we get a big truck that they have that comes out that actually has a DJ booth. But if that is not available, they already have a mobile DJ booth set up as well. Also bringing out tables, umbrellas, bringing out like some little shade structure also for the parking lot. We have some food trucks that'll be here, a local guy, and a lot of other good stuff. And it'll be going on all day. I'll actually be there as well. with skateboards for sale, trucks, wheels, bearings, all the proper necessities, so that if there are anybody here that doesn't have a board and wants to hop into it real quick, day of, I will have the stuff to be able to make that happen.
Okay.
And then I just know for a fact there's probably 30 or 40 guys I know that are already planning on being there all day to enjoy the park.
Okay. So tomorrow, Tuesday, June 21st, official first day of summer and Go Skateboarding Day. That's the ribbon cutting. So come out and enjoy it then, and then join us for the expo. You said Red Bull sponsoring, so we're gonna have some Red Bulls and a skate park and some kids in summer.
There will be some. There'll be some pro. There'll be some pro skateboarders too that are friends of mine that'll be there. So if you want to see some really good skateboarding, I suggest coming out as well. So.
All right. Well, good. I wanted to make sure that we promote that to get to be a part of it and really drive some traffic and some awareness there. I'm really excited about the project. Obviously, I'm not going to skate unless we get a certain amount of downloads on this episode and shares. Then I'll do a session with you. That'd be fun. But for people that actually get to enjoy it and experience it, you mentioned that this is the only park of its kind in quite some distance. So obviously there's a lot of attraction here. We are at the City Works building with the skate park being right next door, right off of the highway essentially, whichever direction you're going from Charlotte. So I can really see this being a major attraction for people in the area. So I can see people really getting to spend a day with the skate park again, the Kevin Lofton Park, the river's right there. We're gonna have the rec center very soon.
So going on down here for sure.
A lot of good reasons to visit Belmont and specifically here and being involved with this. So you then mentioned there at the end, we'll close with this, that you're going to be there selling skateboards and equipment as well. So tell me about your business, because a big part of this platform is to be action oriented. I want people to hear, one, what you do, obviously if they want to purchase that equipment, but also the vision or the future of your business. So someone listening in that wants to be involved can get connected to you. So the floor is yours to promote your business.
Yeah, so there's not another park like this in an hour drive, and then there's not a skate shop located in Gaston County anywhere anymore. The closest skate shop is actually Plaza Midwood. Black Sheep, love those guys. Been home since 2003. It's where I've always gotten my stuff. Those guys are amazing there. But in the process of, for the last year, trying to find a retail space, a storefront, talked to a lot of local business owners, talked to a lot of other people that have been in the city of Belmont for quite some time. Hopefully by the end of the year we'll actually have a storefront, but in the meantime actually started kind of like a mobile skate shop type deal to try to get kids in the community that don't know where to get skateboards, don't know anything about skateboards, trying to have somewhere for them to be able to go and buy the proper stuff and just be able to help them learn to put a skateboard together, learn to put grip tape on, learn anything about skateboarding really. So again, hopefully by the end of the year, I've named it Textile, because Belmont's a huge textile town, so it's going to be Textile Skate. I do have an Instagram, textile_skate is the Instagram on there. I post updates every day, I always get new product in day to day. Stuff is available now, and again, we'll be at the grand opening selling boards and helping out any way I can to get kids on skateboards and enjoy the park. So
okay, well, follow Matt on Instagram, engage with him there, and I will personally be keeping my eyes and ears open for a space to allow you to launch that business, because there is an entrepreneurial undertone to Belmont, and really creating that entrepreneurial space is important. So I hope that someone listening right now says, I have the space for Matt, I want to get him in there, and we're able to get provided for in that way.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you want to share about the park?
That's it. Hope to see you guys Saturday. Tuesday and Saturday.
Yeah. See you guys then. And again, if we get, here's the deal, Matt. All right, and I need you to agree as well.
I'm gonna go ahead and say like 10 likes. You got to drop it.
10 likes.
Yeah.
It reminds me of some of those posts where it's like, if one person likes this,
10.
and it's like the same person
10.
liked it. No, we're going to say 1,000 downloads on this episode, and here's why. Not only because we know we can reach that. Some of our episodes have hit that organically. 1,000 downloads. Not only because then Matt will give me a skating lesson and we'll record the whole thing. All right, even all of the falls.
1,000 downloads, I will give you a brand new board, whole complete, for you to continue to skate if you want to.
I get a brand new skateboard and you get to watch me almost break it. And the 1,000 downloads is not only obviously to promote the platform and the skate park, but also safety.
Yeah.
And so being able to share that and get that out there with people in the Charlotte metro area and surrounding in Gaston County, you're supporting Matt's business, you're supporting the skate park, and you're also supporting the safety of those that will call the skate park home. So that's my final call to action. 1,000 downloads on this episode, and we're going skating.
You're on it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Building Belmont podcast. I'm your host, Keanu Trujillo, reminding you to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And of course, share with a friend, share with a neighbor. We'll see you again next week as we capture more stories, create more connection, and share more information here on the Building Belmont podcast.